Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Cantina Hangouts, the Mandalorian recap retrospective review series, hosted by me, Diego Crespo of the Waffle Press podcast. Also hosting is Gina Versa, my co-host. How are you?
Doing well. Good to be back.
Yeah, cool. And we are not alone this time on our third outing with the Mandalorian. Also with us today is friend of the show, wonderful voice on the internet and all things filmy and comic booky, Emma Crump. How are you?
I'm good. Hello. That was a very, very nice intro. Thank you.
You go back with us a little ways to recording inside Understudy Comics in Uptown
Yeah.
Whittier. You were our sound engineer, and your input was always valuable and delightful. And it's always a pleasure seeing you. So thank you for being our first guest on the show.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me be the first one. I feel so honored. You guys are so inclusive. You have a woman. Oh my gosh.
I think we could always be doing better. But yeah.
But yes, it's cool to have you back, Emma. We missed you on the show.
Thank you. I'm here anytime you guys want any more of my apparently vast film knowledge and comic book ideas.
You and I were the only ones that liked the first Fantastic Beasts, and I vividly remember that too.
Diego,
So
I think it's because we just have taste.
Probably, yeah. I never saw the second one though, so I'm just gonna leave it at that.
But I'm in the same boat. It's okay.
Apparently we're not missing out. But
Yeah.
what we are also not missing out on is keeping up with the Mandalorian, because we're up to date. So that's still technically a true statement. But
Hell
Emma,
yeah.
Gene and I have obviously given our thoughts on the show up to date, and we're excited to talk about episode 3, The Sin, directed by Deborah Chow, the first Star Wars thing, live action Star Wars thing in history directed by a woman. Emma, what are your thoughts on the series to date? And briefly, what did you think about chapter 3?
Okay, so to date, it has such, so far every episode has had a really good balance of new CGI, like New Day effects and touch to it, and it also seems to keep the old homey, like New Hope, Return of the Jedi feel with the way he switches to like his visors, his guns. It seems to be showing a lot more practical effects as well in that sense. So for somehow they seem to have like hit the nail on the hammer with a good balance in this show. They have the music, the lighting, the tone is always set. You know what you're stepping into with the tone, but it's the comfortableness of having it be Star Wars with having it be brand new and surprising at the same time. Whereas like with the Star Wars movies, you're going in and you know, like, I'm going to get 2 hours of my face like completely like sawed right off with action and bright lights and you know, big intense scenes instead of a lot more intimate in the Star Wars universe, which they're selling it and everyone's buying and it's working.
I don't know if you listened to the first episode. I was not a fan, actually. I thought, oh no. But episode 2, I'm very happy to say, is the one that really won me over. And I still think I prefer the second episode, just because that's more of what I'm interested in Star Wars.
Yeah.
This one, I think it's also really good, though.
Okay.
And real testament to the direction. I brought up in the last episode, but I just want to say that I'm convinced for sure now this is a series that's going to live or die by the strength of its individual directors. So people like Rick Famuyiwa and Deborah Chow, who are clearly very talented at action and character blocking with their filmmaking, are really bring a liveliness to this series that I'm excited to go on board with. And I'm not particularly still like completely sold in the series as a whole, if I'm being honest, though. Like, the thing, I'm not that interested in bounty hunter stuff with Star Wars. I think Star Wars can be anything, but the fact that it can be anything, you know, like, shouldn't invalidate this approach either. And so it just has this killer hook with not even the bounty hunter stuff, but everyone's favorite, Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Yoba.
Yoba, yes, that is the name Gene coined last week, and that's my favorite name so far. I've seen other names such as just Baby, the Baby, Yaddle, but then everyone remembered that was the one from the other little Yoda thing in Phantom Menace. I've seen Yeetle, which is basically
Yeah.
just a meme.
Yeah.
Has anyone called him Baby Sinclair? One of the baby from that Dinosaurs Jim Henson show? Because he kind of
No.
looks like that.
I remember that, yeah. The one
The one
that's
that's
always like, ma, like all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, the show that's just a rip off of like The Simpsons, but with
Uh-huh.
dinosaurs.
Okay, but that show has the darkest ending ever. Do you guys know the ending to Dinosaurs?
You'll have to explain it because I remember like a lot of people talking about it. I'm pretty sure I just blocked it out to save myself, really.
Okay, so the dinosaur show is about dinosaurs in a BC era, obviously, like the years ago, millions and millions of years ago, and the dinosaurs are not with us anymore.
That's right. They watch it happen, don't they? Or they're like,
Yeah, the ending of the series is the dinosaur community preparing for the apocalypse, and then it ends. I'm not saying that's a bad ending. I barely remember it. I just remember looking that up when I was older again, and I was like, wait a second. That's the ending is them preparing for certain death.
It's pretty depressing, actually.
That would have fucked me up if I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty terrible.
Yeah. But let's get into this episode. Mandalorian Chapter 3: The Sin. Also written by Jon Favreau, who basically wrote everything this season except for 2 episodes, episode 5 and 6. Written respectively by Dave Filoni and Christopher Yost and Rick Famuyiwa. All very talented writers.
Yeah, I think Dave Filoni is better in the writing room.
Oh, hey, we got to see. Maybe he grew from the pilot episode. Anyone can learn,
Yes.
But for this episode, the Mandalorian delivers the child to everyone's favorite character actor and filmmaker, Werner Herzog, who's just the best human being ever. For those who don't know, he was offering this thing called Rogue Film School, where he'd handpick students to learn filmmaking things, but they weren't like traditional filmmaking like techniques or like anything like that. Like he basically had a resume of how to like work the system for your favor to become filmmakers, and he was adamant that he was not teaching lockpicking in his school, but he basically was teaching people how to pick locks so they can get permits for their shoots. Anyways, I just love that he's in this.
Lock picking. He was just teaching them how to open the door a different way. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. I believe the quote he had was that, like, whenever he would teach students, is that he would tell them in case they forgot their keys inside a room and they needed to get their keys back, and then he would insist on them looking at his face for the true reaction. But anyways, so the Mandalorian delivers the child, and there's clearly like an attachment thing on there already. What do we feel about the Mandalorian as a character at this point, Emma? What are your thoughts on him?
I like him, but at the same time, I'm kind of iffy about his character, like his arc, what his arc is going to be, because we haven't really seen enough of him to see his reputation that Werner Herzog was talking about, where he was like, your reputation is unwarranted in how you deliver this child. We haven't really seen any type of bounty hunter ruthlessness to put a cap on it with it, so to see him immediately become like really soft for this child, it shows that it seems to be playing on his parents or whatever the flashbacks happen to be. But I don't know if there would be any sort of shocking, scary thing to him or any sort of big arc for me that would see a character like this change in any way, because it seemed fairly obvious at this point that Mando was going to go back for Yaba. Like he was getting the baby back, Didn't seem like there wasn't at any part of this episode where he wasn't going to turn around and try and make the effort of at least get info, if not even more than just asking Carl Weathers,
Yeah, it seemed like he was always going to do the right thing. It just took him longer, took more time, I guess.
Yeah, because I think it would have been nice. I think it I wasn't sure if it was going to be like, okay, this is just a bounty hunter. We get maybe 2.5 episodes of a bounty, and then we get 2.5 more episodes of a bounty. So we learn the character, or if it was just going to be Baby Yoda all the way, which obviously the entire universe and Star Wars universe has voted Baby Yoda all the way, which, hey, why not? How can you not? Yeah.
Right.
I'm with you on the character stuff. Like, I like him and I like Pedro Pascal.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, like, and I'm cool with it not being like a shocking twist that he goes back for the baby either. And I think we're all on the same page with this. Like, yeah, this is good, but I kind of wish he started off like a little meaner or something like that, you know, or like just a couple more episodes with them on the road. Like, what my thought last week was that, oh my God, are we just gonna get a bunch of episodes of them like trying to get back?
Me too. Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a journey back type season, and then like the big like finale episode would be like, oh, he finally turned it back, and now he loves the baby, or like now he sees that they're gonna like rip him apart or something, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and I'm cool with that. I'm down to see where the show goes for sure. Which is again something I did not anticipate after the first episode. I was like, please don't do this to me. And now I'm like, oh yeah, this is nice. I like it, and I'm still adamant about please don't make all of Star Wars this. This is cool as its own corner of the universe. Let's keep it going though. Let's keep it growing. And speaking of going and growing, the Mandalorian talking to Werner Herzog, who was apparently delighted by the Baby Yoda on set. He was the first one. He was the first fanboy for Baby Yoda.
He was moved to tears, and that's very valid of him.
Oh, it's the best thing ever.
I think we all were when we first heard Baby Yoda make a noise.
Oh yeah, my cold, tiny Grinch heart grew 5 sizes after last episode.
Here's a side note I didn't appreciate in this episode. I don't like how much it sounded like a child and a baby when it was like being taken away from Mando, and it just did that like actual baby cry of like, hey, like genuine baby whimper, like, I don't know what's happening, I'm scared. I don't give it alien noises, please. I need some attention.
Aliens can be cute too, but I'm right there with you. Like, fuck Jean Favreau. Like, he knows what he's doing. It's like if this was a genuinely bad show, it would still totally have everyone watching because of Baby Yoda. Like, it's the perfect hook. I can't stop watching now. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's too cute for its own good.
Yeah, like I only like jokingly with some old podcasting friends, Real Film Chatter, shout out to you guys. We were talking about, you know, everyone loves Baby Yoda, and I was like, you know, guys, I think Baby Yoda needs to die, like at some point, like just for the Star Wars series to continue. And I was like, even after like jokingly saying that, I was like, oh no, that's kind of fucked up. That's a little much.
Diego, if that happens, I'm leading a mob to your house.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally valid.
But sick ideas.
Terrible this is why I can't write a Star Wars thing. But we learned some interesting facts that I think I wish we would have liked to have learned early on when just all the like the stuff with the bounty hunters, like the whole like little mini economy they got going on. They're like, oh, you can't ask about the bounty once it's delivered, like you forget it happened. And then they like, there's a bunch of scenes like that in this episode where they're explaining like, well, you know how it goes. And it's like, no, we don't know how it goes because this is the first we're hearing of it. Yeah. And like, I'm totally fine with filling out the world. It's just, I feel like we could have learned that a little more. And so, I've seen some criticism of the pacing for the series so far. And I'm like, I wish it was going a little slower actually, just to spend more time in the world and like the weird environments, you know, and the weird societies.
So it's too much like John Wick, where it's just they're throwing around all these terms, and everyone's just like, "Oh yeah, I guess that's how it works."
No, John Wick is like the king of world building right now. I'll go to bat for all.
Really,
of that.
I thought John Wick 3 was the worst. That like, oh, there's a man above the table, and then there's this, that, and that, and that, and this has never been brought up once in any other single point in time.
No. I very, very much disagree, especially because John Wick 3 is like the best action movie of the year, but we're not getting into that.
Okay.
Um,
But did
but
you like?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Did you like Griff Karga? I believe that's how you pronounce it.
Grief.
Carl Weathers.
Yeah, I do like him. I do like him. I trusted at the end that he would lift his head again.
Yeah. Was it? Do you guys? He reminds me of some certain Simpsons character, Lionel Hutz, where it's just like he keeps out, skeeving his way out of situations, keeps turning up alive.
He knows the law and he knows how to work it for himself, and that's what
Yeah, yeah. He's
Yeah,
just like keeps surviving somehow.
yeah. That's a really fun like character trait for me. Like, I really love recurring antagonists in TV series like that, where like they're not even like the scariest or the best, you know. Like everyone loves Darth Vader's and Bane's and shit, but
Oh, of
like
course.
just the idea of like a dude who's like, yeah, he's good enough at their job, but they also have trouble keeping up with like the protagonist. So it's kind of like charming. Like it's fun to watch them succeed, but you also don't want them to succeed too much to keep
Yeah.
to like defeat the hero. So that's a really fun dynamic that I think they're gonna have going forward. Um, I I just wish that I just wish there was a little more of the focus on like the systems, the outer rim systems, because we get like that dialogue between him and Mando, who's saying like, oh, was it with him and Mando, or one of them said that they could go to like report the Empire
Yeah,
soldiers to
it
the
was him.
Republic.
It was him. It was Mando was about to leave. Excuse me. He was about to leave, and he was like, "Do you have any idea what they're gonna do with it?" And he's like, "Well, we don't ask those. And if you have an issue, then happily turn yourself in, I guess." So yeah, you're right. It was Grief that was telling him that. So
Yeah, interesting concept, and like I really want to see more of that. And it looks like we can get more of that now, given the
Mhm.
direction of the series. And just God bless the show for being so like narratively like thin. Not in a bad way. It's like it's lean. There you go, lean. Lean's
Lean.
the proper word.
That's a better word.
Yeah. Because it's not it's definitely not shallow, which is very much a relief to me.
yeah,
Because I feel like there's still like a lot to talk about here, even though basically this is what happens in this episode. He returns the baby. He goes to get an upgrade, and this is my shallow interpretation of the episode. Obviously, we'll talk more about it. He goes to get an upgrade, decides to go back to get the baby, and then escapes. That's
yeah,
fundamentally what happens in the episode. But you feel like you're actually experiencing it enough because of like the filmmaking and the talent involved with this, that it's much more than just plot points happening. You're
Mhm.
actually feeling like character decisions being made.
yes, exactly. Yes, I would like to talk about that. When he the moment when he gets in his ship and he is going and he reaches and he takes that moment to look at like the knob that was unscrewed, but then he still screws it back on, but they give you like that 2 minutes more of him very slowly sitting back, and then even just like as he's settled, even his hand is hesitating as much as it possibly can. And it's like he does this wonderful body language situation in that aspect where I, we've all had days where like our head is in a million places at once, and obviously we have a priority, which for him was his job, and then B priority, whatever is our at home stresses, whatever outside stresses. And I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but I have done this thousands of times, where I will be sitting or I will be like in my car and I will be doing my most mundane, and then I will snap out of it and notice like, oh, my hand has been in the air ready to grab something for like 5 minutes because I've been thinking for too long.
Hmm.
Or I've been like in the middle of an action or trying to finish something or even like buttoning a shirt, and I'll just be like totally completely dazed. And he seemed to somehow, even without having a facial expression change, without having like a little soft like thought sound, without having that little like shoulder lift of like, oh crap, like I've noticed, he somehow portrayed it so wonderfully. And I think the music also helped along with it, where you saw his entire thought process change into, yep, this is happening, getting that kid, we're gonna get out of here no matter what, in just like a minute of him keeping his hand in the air. And I thought I don't know why I pinpointed on that, but I couldn't stop looking at his hand to see if he would just drop it down to think, or if he would still be in the motion of trying his best to fight every possible step of like telling himself to not go back. You know what I mean?
Completely, yes. No, that's actually like there's a lot of action in the back half of this episode, and I liked it all. It's all solid stuff,
Oh
or
yeah.
it's solid or very good.
Mhm.
But that was my favorite moment in the episode because that's when I finally like it confirmed for me that this series would find a way into the head of a character whose face you never see,
Mhm.
and that's
Right.
really hard to do, and
Mhm.
that's very impressive. And I totally believe that it's one actor behind that, even though it's both Pedro Pascal and a body double. I don't know if it's more than one, but whoever the tag team duo on that, very impressive work because it's seamless and just the physical acting by
Mhm.
those performers is really
Yes.
believable.
Yeah, I agree completely.
And when he does go back for to get his upgrade really quick, just so we could break down the rest of the episode, um, I'm the Mandalorians kind of have this funky history in Star Wars history, both
Mhm.
like the literal, like the fictional history, and like the fan base history, because you know everyone loves their Boba Fett. Boba Fett's the
Mhm.
coolest guy ever, apparently. I never got Boba Fett. I like Boba Fett dying in the most pathetic, hilarious way ever, because Return of the Jedi is awesome, and I'm being completely sincere. I think it's a great death.
I believe.
But now it's so funny. Han Solo is not smart enough to go mano a mano with a dude like that. It makes total sense that he would accidentally knock him into a pit where he gets swallowed for years and years. That's like, I don't know. People watch Star Wars differently than me, I guess. But anyways,
Yeah.
and then in the Clone Wars, there's some great Star Wars storytelling with the Mandalorian culture. But I guess just like there's this idea of like the Mandalorians has to be the coolest thing ever, and you know, and
Yeah.
they're like the ultimate badasses. And so I've always kind of been a little wary. Maybe that's kind of why I've always been a little wary of the series as a whole, like
Okay.
depending on how far they go with it. And then I see them trying to basically like out machismo each other for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, I don't hate this, so this must be good. And I don't know. What was your guys' thoughts on the insight to the Mandalorian culture? Because we've only gotten sprinkles of it here.
Mhm.
Right. It's interesting that, well, I mean, what we've seen, and there's a lot we don't know at this point, but the fact that they're kind of like these kind of almost like a secret society where they're living underground, like Morlocks or something, and they could only one could go up at a time, and they're really living scarce after something that went on with the Empire is really fascinating. I think that that they're broken down this far as a culture, I guess.
Yeah, that they've been so like, I don't know. Well, you said it, like broken down that they have to actually like become the mole people now, and they just have to
Hmm.
live around.
Yeah, they're like the mole people from Planet of the Apes or something.
Or they're like the Mandamolians.
Mandalorian, stupid.
Yeah, Mandamolians. No, but yeah, I actually like them in this show, and I like their weird like rituals, even though it kind of feels like inhibiting. Like I'm definitely not using this as a criticism. I'm not. This isn't a hang up for me, but it is a little silly that they're like, "You've never taken your helmet off?" Never. And it's like, boy,
Yeah.
that is incredibly unhealthy. It must reek under there. But again,
Especially
I
with
don't
just
actually care
last.
about that. So.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of backstory in the culture with the Clone Wars series, but obviously something happened between the end of the Clone Wars saga
Yeah,
and right now that got him to a very not good place. And presume we're gonna see a bit of that when the Clone Wars comes back for its renewed final season on Disney Plus next year, which I'm very much looking forward to because that's some very good Star Warsing stuff with the Clone Wars. What did we think of when the Mandalorian actually went back to save the baby? So you get the big action scenes, you get the cool lone wolf and cub stuff going on again that I really really love, and uh, the Imperial Doctor who might not have wanted to hurt the baby after all. He looks like he maybe had the baby's interests. Emma, what were your thoughts?
I want to trust him. I do, because he seems to have that like squirrely, like I gotta do this because I'm under their thumb type aura about him. But at the same time, I don't know. Like, he wasn't really fighting that robot that he had full control over. And it's not like Werner Herzog was already like still in there. He could have. I don't know. I'm very iffy on him still. I think because we only know a little bit about him, and I don't know if he was just like afraid of Mando, that he just didn't want to die and he just had his coward moment or not. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Gene, what do you got?
I wasn't too surprised that he was going to go back. I was it felt like a little prolonged. Like all these signs kept happening to he's noticing little things without the baby, and I mean I knew it was going to happen, but it's nice to have a like a heroic character, I guess, in this type of series, because I mean centering on bounty hunters. You can only go so far with everyone just like screwing people over. But it's interesting that he has a conscience, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you? I'm with you there. Do you trust the Imperial Doctor who didn't fight back?
Probably not. No, he's Imperial.
All right. I'm. Well, actually, you know what? Let's get into a little theory time.
Yeah, there are no good.
There's a couple out there.
Mm-hmm. There are no good Imperials. They're only complacent or people that say on both sides.
Oh yeah, I mean, because like Imperials are space Nazis. Like that's the thing.
Of course.
But here's the thing. I'm definitely not. This is not pro imperialism. Hang on.
Okay. Punch Imperials. That's what I said.
Yeah, punch Imperials always. But this man, though he is working with them, which does make him both complacent, and that does put him like objectively in the wrong. Mm-hmm. His garb, according to some Twitterisms, because I got really into the last episode, I started looking around at what people were saying about certain things in the series. Mm-hmm. Someone brought up that his insignia is actually the same insignia as the clone things on a Camino. Mm-hmm. As the Camino clone facilities. So I'm wondering what the extent of that could be. Is Baby Yoda literally a Baby Yoda clone? Was he hired by the Empire? Is he just a coward who's also like like one of those sniveling weasel kind of villains? Kind of like weasels their way out of things and all that jazz. So I don't know. I think there's more going on there than meets the eye, which doesn't mean he's innocent or a good person either. I just think that could be a fun thread to follow through. Is all.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I mean, it's been hard to predict so far where the story and the series will twist and turn.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it'd be pretty straightforward, and at times it is. Like we said, none of us were like shocked when he went back for the baby, but I think we were also just like, yes, good. Let's do this.
Yeah.
If I had to like wait an episode for him to go back to the baby, I would be like very upset.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Give him like a like. You post a photo. You post a photo on his Instagram, just me and my Yoba child. Yeah. Like so post it just for the likes and like, oh, that's good for you. Yeah. Being a good dad.
No. See, his Instagram is nobody talk to me or my son again. Just a bunch of those photos.
He has that picture like Rosa from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where he's like, I've had Baby Yoda for only a day, and if anything were to happen to him, I'd kill everybody in the room and then myself.
I'm making all these memes the moment we're done recording. By the way,
there you go. You have to.
They'll be shared on the Waffle Press Twitter account and Instagram. But anyway,
I know all about the meme life, man.
Hell yeah.
We just have to end up about that meme life.
A meme is a dream your heart makes.
Oh my God, Diego, how could you say that to me?
So the rest of the episode is pretty much a straightforward action sequence. But we should note that obviously there is more going on with the Mandalorian culture, and that they were clearly upset that the Mandalorian was working with the remnants of the Empire, space Nazis, and just because there's clearly some history there. And we get flashbacks to not the Empire. I think it's important to point out that the Separatists in the Star Wars prequels are not the same kind of evil as the Empire. Still a bad, obviously, but like a different thing. And so it's a really small thing this episode does, but it ties the Mandalorian culture to something like obviously the war, because
The Clone Wars.
they're basically bred for war, almost. But like it's kind of showing how like they've lived all these different wars for so long, and now they don't even have like a home anymore. It's like they're kind of people without countries.
Exactly. I'm gonna say it's interesting that the Separatists were, and they're kind of like the rebellion in some ways, a little bit.
I think that's probably how Palpatine got them like on board with everything, because we do only see side of the Republic in the prequels,
Mm-hmm.
Even in Clone Wars, like we barely get glimpses at the Separatist movement outside of like the Sith stuff, which is not inherently a flaw. It's just I think could have been expanded upon, but again, not a criticism really. Just that probably is how Palpatine got them to like believe that they were the underdogs and they had to like defeat the Republic so they could live, and then of course he ends up screwing them over, and now the galaxy's like this, 3 generations of war, which is bad. And yet the Mandalorians come to Mando's aid at the end of things because they see that he could not live with himself if he had given up the child to the Empire for any purpose. And I think that was one of those things again where it's like it would have been cool to see this play out a little bit longer, but it's still very satisfying to see come to fruition. So what did we think about the ending of this episode? Because this is the big action scene so far for the series.
That was the best action scene that I've seen in this series so far. The way that it played out like like a western in terms of the standoff, and it's just it was like out of a western movie. It's just him against all these bounty hunters, and there's a certain point where it's like he's like he's getting his looks in, but then he realizes how overwhelmed he is, and he's just staring at his small green child, and like. I wasn't sure if he was like, oh, I'm gonna sorry that I put you in this situation, or like he was staring at him like, hey, use your force powers, like do something.
Wake up, baby, wake up.
I couldn't figure that out. I don't know. What did you guys think of that?
No, that I totally thought of like Han Solo's. That's not how the Force works,
Yeah.
Like, come on, do something. But and then the fact that like reinforcements come is and the way they fight too is we've only seen the Mandalorians really like fight in the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. I mean, Boba Fett's just kind of standing there and doesn't do too much, but it's the best depiction of the Mandalorians in live action so far, and just how they just like go to town on everyone. Because they don't just use guns; they fly while they're doing it. Grace, that's Grace. They're like synchronized divers or swimmers.
Yeah.
Just making all these like figure eights in the sky.
They have their like maneuvers and everything like that. Yeah, I completely see. That's totally
great. Yeah, gracefully killing people.
Yeah. I agree. It was totally like a Western. For me, it 100% gave me that like, oh heck yeah moment of like watching it where it was like, okay, he's either gonna jump out and like empty all his blasters and then take whatever bullets are left, or they're both gonna just end up going or getting captured, or that's how this one's gonna end. But I really enjoyed the like triumphant like, because at first I thought it was just gonna be the smith, the one who made his armor, and I was like, oh cool, badass woman moment. But it was better because it was a badass family like group moment of like, this is like, we have to support each other because obviously we are the only ones who are left, So yeah, I really loved that gung-ho like, heck yeah, they're not going to take any crap, they're going to make sure the Imperial doesn't talk bad about them anymore and try and earn back what they lost. I really loved that fight. No matter how campy and Star Warsy actiony it is, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was
That
nice.
yeah, that's actually why I loved it so much, because I really, maybe I shouldn't have even judged the show before it came out, but I guess just because like the fan culture gets to me, I'm like, I don't
Oh,
want Star Wars to get too serious. I don't want
Uh-huh.
like too much like, look at how badass he is. I'm like, he's a bad guy who doesn't play by the rules. And it's like, oh yeah, but they're flying around with jetpacks and laser beams,
You're
and
right.
like you
yeah.
could, like I could just imagine John Favreau cackling as he's writing this at his keyboard, just like living out his wildest like middle school fantasies. And I love that so much, because that Star Wars is a big pulpy adventure series for everyone. You know,
Exactly.
it's got to be a
Yeah.
blend of all things for like their particular stories they're telling. And so something I imagined I would like despise watching, I'm really enjoying now. And I don't think it's like essential Star Wars yet, even though
Mhm.
it clearly wants to be with the Yoda baby thing.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I am enjoying the heck out of it so far, and I could not be happier about that.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
I when you said it kind of shows how he's like playing out his like childhood fantasies. I think that really sent it home when Mando was flying, and all of a sudden there was another bounty hunter doing like the Superman flying and did the like sign off and then just like bailed on him. That was full on like, oh, this is fun, and this show is like, this is gonna be a great adventure. Like, we're all starting it, and no matter how like stressful, intense it's gonna be, it's gonna like, no matter, at the end of the day, it's gonna be a kid's or a whole person. Like, everyone can enjoy it because it's just fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it has the goodness of the original trilogy, I would say.
Hmm.
Because like Han Solo coming back to help out Luke in the Death Star trench. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't expect that from Han.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I agree because, sorry, my head is all over the place right
No,
now.
No,
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 it's
that's
fine.
fine. Yeah.
Like, you have that moment of like Han, and you have that big like heck yeah moment of that Star Wars movie. And every single individual movie will have like maybe one or two minor heck yeahs and then one massive heck yeah at the end in the third part,
Was
you
it?
know?
No, it has a yeah boy.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Oh,
long,
God,
the
yeah.
longest yeah boy in all
Yeah.
this.
World longest yeah boy. um,
That was us, I guess, at the end.
but it's nice to have it in episodes as well, where maybe it's not as frequent heck yeah moments, but you have your tiny like, oh yeah, of him turning back to go get baby Yoda, or even in the second episode you have that tiny like, oh yeah, they found the Jawas, or he's racing to go get him, this is a lot of fun. And then you have your big heck yeah moment where, you know, he does get away with it, or all the bounty hunters show, or all the Mandalorians show up to help him. You have your big heck yeah, and then the second episode it was like you get to see Baby Yoda use the Force, and that was your big heck yeah. So it's really it's interesting, and they somehow have nailed doing big Star Wars movies without overwhelming each episode. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing I'm disagree with you on.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
I don't think it's feels that big, and I'm personally okay with that. I like the stripped down, smaller scale Star Wars. It still feels like TV to me. I honestly don't feel like it's revolutionary television
No.
either. But
Mhm.
like I'm happy with the way it is. It is a great version of itself. I mean no ill will about any of that what I'm saying. But yeah, I do have to disagree. I don't feel that it gets the big Star Wars stuff right. It definitely has the vibe down though, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is what's gonna make it last
Last.
as long as it needs to. Yeah. I think that this will be a big one for if the quality keeps up now. I think this will be a big one for future kids.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think of? Excuse me. What do you think of the tone? Because I mean, the fact when was it like Carl Weathers mentions like Twilight healing bath sounds kind of skeevy. Sounds like a strip club or something.
Yeah, it kind of keeps it all over the place in those like the like, I don't want to call them like human moments, but I guess that's how you would perceive that as, where he's not out killing somebody, it's more of like a civilization moment.
Hmm.
Um, where you have those like that, but then it's weird because they'll be talking about like skeevy adult under radar stuff, and then
Yeah.
you'll have him when he's like storming in, and you'll be expecting these big action sequences, sort of like Netflix Marvel, where it has the feel of like, oh, you might get maybe this cool fight sequence that might remind you of Daredevil's hallway, or even just any type of inkling of a fight from Marvel. But then because it's Disney and because they have to censor a couple of things, you don't really get to see all the punches land or all the blasters hit. You just get to see the aftermath of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for tone wise, it's everywhere when it needs to be. Like sometimes it's hard to feel like, is this super funny or is this just like a weird offhand comment they're all making? For
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not too bothered by it, but I'm like, if I was watching it with a younger viewer, I'd be like, oh, that's it's just a place people go, adults go.
Yeah.
I'll explain when you're older.
Yeah, explain when you're older. Yeah.
I guess, yeah. Like, I definitely don't want too much of that either. Like, there's definitely a fine line they're writing with this series, tonally. Because like Return of the Jedi, unfortunately, has like Leia like strung up in a golden bikini, and it's like that's my favorite Star Wars movie probably. And it's like you didn't need to do that. You could have gotten Slave Leia without the gold bikini thing. Like that's very male writer.
Yeah.
I just don't want more of that is all. And it doesn't look like that's even going to be possible under Disney. And it's like, all right, Disney's an evil conglomerate trying to absorb the world and like how we process art, but that's a good thing. Stopping that.
Yeah, I mean, what's surprising? I mean, in Solo, it's probably the most like romantic of the Star Wars movies so far we've seen, because there isn't really too much romance lately in Star Wars, I would say. And like I was just gonna say it's and there's nothing like the slave Leia scene, but it has a lot of really like romantic scenes between Han and Kira. So I don't know.
It's very playful.
Yeah.
I would say that there's like not in a way that's like I want everyone to hear me out here. There's very clearly sexual tension between Rey and Kylo, and I don't mean that as like a shipper thing. I mean like
it's like very forced. They're trying to make it very obvious that they're.
Yeah.
They clearly have a thing, whether it's like legitimate romantic interest, they understand each other, and when those characters are that close and they're that lost together, like of course there's gonna be like romantic tension there. That doesn't mean the movie or I am pro them getting together. I think it's just I'm not. I think it's an interesting idea. It doesn't mean I want them to end up together. You know what I mean? Like
God no.
You can be interested in following a story along and still want it to end badly, because it obviously like is going to there also. Just to talk a little bit about 9, like I'm interested in seeing characters fall apart in terms of growth. I think that's a very interesting way to go about it.
Do you think that's what we'll be getting from Mandalorian?
No, I don't think we'll be getting any romance in Mandalorian.
No, not romance or anything, but I mean growth by falling apart. Do you think we're going to get any of those moments from him?
Maybe. It's kind of hard because like we were talking about, like I think all of our big criticism so far is that the character backstory for Mandalorian's a little that I will describe as thin. It's paper thin.
A little bit.
And so it would be hard to see like what even could be broken down about the character at this point.
Other than the obvious of like all the flashbacks he keeps having.
Yeah. If it'd be cool if they like spent the season building it up and then then everything that gets built up gets broken down. That would be very interesting, like structure wise,
Yeah.
But as of this point, I don't think we'll see too much of that. I don't know if it's headed that direction, but I like characters like that.
Mm-hmm.
Pro Raylo stands, come at me. No, unless you fellows have anything else to talk about the episode. Final thoughts, Emma.
Excuse me. I don't know. It's interesting with this show of like you said, of getting so little information or minimal information every episode, or bits and pieces as we're getting, but still wanting to come back and like not feel cheated every time we watch an episode. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It has a weird dialogue about it where, like you were saying, Diego, like how you started to not like this, but now you're liking this. Like it has a weird shift about it where you're not getting a lot, and when you boil it down, the episodes don't sound that incredible, but yet they're somehow next level good with just what the minimal that we're given. It's next level. So I see this show probably going for a while. Like it's sticking, I'm pretty sure. And I'll probably stick with it most of the way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would. I could see it. I could see it dropping the ball, but I also see it not anytime soon. If
Mhm.
if this is what we're getting so far, Gene, final thoughts.
Yeah, I'll agree with Emma. Like, I'm gonna stick into watching this. Every midnight on the last Thursday. Well, next couple of Thursdays seem pretty exciting. I didn't see it at midnight last night because I was dead tired and went to sleep. But it makes you excited to, you get this anxious feeling, what's going to happen next, and it goes back to the idea that Star Wars was based on all these movie serials of the past, like Flash Gordon, and this really harkens back to that idea where it's a continued adventure of this character, and it's this long like saga of him. I take that back. Last week I said it's a one long movie. How about it's one long like serial adventure?
Oh yeah, that's totally the vibe they're going for, and I think completely appropriate. It's yeah, especially just given the episodes are different, like not even tonally, just like different little adventures, all telling one big story. Um, I would definitely agree with that. Gene, you and I um, talked about the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, which I've been
Yeah,
revisiting recently,
very
and
underrated.
very
Very
underrated, and also very, very clearly inspired by the old adventure serials. Like there's a fade to black and white, like 8 millimeter film, I think, every episode,
Mhm.
and I'm getting very similar vibes for the Mandalorian. Not quite as good as Young Indiana Jones yet,
Yeah.
but I think that's what they're going for a little bit here. Just one big adventure narrative with individual adventures like sprinkled around in the middle, and I really quite like that. So thank you both for joining me in this episode. Um, Last question: what do we think Baby Yoda eats this week?
He definitely eats. He definitely eats. I think I said frogs last week. I don't think he's a frog person. I think like some nice bothan soup. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Emma, what do you have thoughts about what Baby Yoda's diet is?
I he does seem like a meat eater, but
Mhm.
I feel like what were those things that like Jabba always fed on, and they were in the like jar of like.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
gross.
yeah.
Keep them away from him. That's bad. That's bad for him.
I feel like
You want
those
him
would
to
be
look
like
like
good
Jabba?
snacks, though. Like, well, I mean,
One of
he's a
the.
you gotta get his muscles.
I guess
He's
so.
What's that?
baby. He's gotta grow up. He's baby.
Yeah, that's true. But still, I feel like get him some stuff from the moisture farms or like the blue milk. That's what he
Oh,
needs.
I bet he
The
lives
blue
off.
milk.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're gonna go to Tatooine. I fucking know it. No. I feel like they'll stray away from that.
We're gonna get that shot of Mando holding like Baby Yoda as a baby with just like a casual bottle of blue milk and feeding him, just super, just watching it.
Jeez.
Under the twin sunset. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that would be everyone's Twitter wallpaper.
Or like he has the like baby carrier on his chest and he's just standing watching the twin sunset and Baby Yoda's just like on his chest, like passed out.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was joking about them going to Tatooine, but like I want an image like that now. Thank you both for joining me. Thank you, Emma, for being our first guest. I'm so happy to have you on. Welcome back anytime. Where can the people find you?
You can find me out on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Starlit Sunflower.
Link to that down below. Gene, plugs. What do you got?
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, Gene9892.
All right, and you can follow me at the Twitters at the Diego Crespo. Check out the Waffle Press on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes. Check out all the other podcasts we got going on. Happy Amblin, Cantina Hangouts, monthly roundtables. What? Bye.